Over 4,000 years ago, the Indus Valley Civilization flourished across South Asia. Cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa featured planned streets and sophisticated drainage systems, suggesting a high degree of social organization. Excavations revealed thousands of small artifacts, mostly stone seals and pottery fragments, etched with short sequences of symbols. These markings were consistent across a vast geography, appearing in nearly every major settlement. Because these characters were standardized across hundreds of miles, early researchers classified them as a script. They reasoned that a civilization of this massive scale would rely on a shared written language to function. This conclusion was driven by our own modern perspective. We inhabit a world where repeated symbols are used to capture speech and preserve memory, so we instinctively treat these ancient markings as words waiting to be read. For a century, the goal was to find a parallel text, a discovery where these unknown symbols appeared alongside a known language. Scholars hoped this would provide the key to mapping the characters to phonetic sounds. But the Indus markings do not behave like other ancient scripts. They lack the long narratives found in Egypt or Mesopotamia, showing no clear grammatical patterns or signs of evolving complexity over time. The inscriptions are stubbornly brief, mostly 4 to 6 symbols, making it difficult to encode spoken language. Researchers compared them to Dravidian and Indo-Aryan roots, yet no phonetic model has translated these short strings into coherent speech. This persistent failure suggests that the problem may not be a lack of data. Instead, the foundational assumption that these symbols encode a spoken language may be flawed. Human language follows specific structural rules. Some sounds and words appear frequently, while others are rare. There is a specific balance between predictability and variation that allows us to communicate. A new generation of researchers shifted the focus from the meaning of the symbols to their behavior. They stopped asking what the characters said and began testing if they functioned like language at all. A script must be organized enough to be understood, yet expressive enough to capture speech. This middle ground is human language. Statistical analysis shows Indus sequences sit in an ambiguous zone, more structured than random markings, but lacking the complexity to represent full language. This creates a scientific contradiction. The system is too consistent across the civilization to be random decoration, but it is not flexible enough to be a written script. Modern symbolic systems often convey meaning without language. A traffic sign or a brand logo is standardized and meaningful, but it does not represent a sentence or a specific spoken word. The Indus symbols may fall into this category. They likely functioned as non-linguistic identifiers, religious icons, family markers, or trade labels that signaled identity rather than encoding speech. This model resolves the mystery of their brevity. If a seal was meant to identify a specific merchant or a specific cargo, it wouldn't need grammar or long texts. Repetition and short sequences would be the goal. This suggests that one of the ancient world's largest civilizations may have operated without a system of writing as we understand it. It functioned through symbolic conventions and oral traditions rather than phonetic records. This challenges a deeply held benchmark, the idea that a complex urban society requires the written word to exist. It took a century for the scientific community to ask if these symbols were actually a script. This delay highlights apophenia, the human tendency to find structure in random noise. Our brains are hardwired to see patterns and assume intention. Modern researchers projected their own literate reality onto the past. Because we use language to organize our society, we assumed the Indus people must have done the same. This reveals that the greatest barrier to understanding history is often the unyielding expectation of what we expect to find. The linguistic structure we once saw in these symbols was not inherent to the markings. It was a pattern brought to them by the observer. The mystery has shifted from decoding a language to determining if one was ever written down. We are confronting a civilization that may have communicated in a way that will never be translated into modern terms. Understanding the Indus Valley may require us to step away from the literate models we use as defaults, even if that means accepting that some aspects of this civilization will remain outside our reach.